Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And Affliction Warlock got even more attention in this most recent build for the Midnight Beta, and it's getting one of the largest reworks and some of the most powerful spells and abilities of any specialization for the next expansion. So in today's video, we're going to be doing a deep dive and a breakdown of all of the advancements and the progression that this specialization has made so far. We're going to run through the rotation a little bit, the pros and the cons, what's really fun about it, because obviously I think gameplay, mechanics, and fun is the most important component at this stage of development and the pipeline, because in the future, maybe the numbers get eradicated and it does really low damage. We don't know. Maybe the numbers are at the top and you feel like a god. Who really knows? But gameplay, fun, fantasy, this type of stuff is going to remain true no matter what. And also there's a couple of things within the talent tree itself and the class's kit that could increase its odds of being strong almost regardless of what additional tuning they make to it in the future. So let's get started here with the Affliction Warlock. Now, the first thing is that they are bringing back stacking Unstable Affliction. That change has not been unchanged since the start of the beta. So your Soul Shard spender is Unstable Affliction. You can see it stacking on the target as such. It does a significant amount of single target, an enormous amount of single target is very satisfying. Unfortunately, it does mean that your damage is then, though, committed to that target. However, you do have Seed of Corruption as an alternative AoE Soul Shard spender, similar to how you'd have Star Surge and Starfall for a balanced druid. You have Seed of Corruption and Unstable Affliction, so when there's multiple targets, you can start sending out Seed of Corruptions instead. And there are a bunch of talents that I don't currently have selected right now, that if you implanted a bunch of these seeds, you can get instant procs. They do big explosion damage. You're likely going to have a really fun playstyle regardless of single target or AoE, just because of a lot of these talents and Dark Harvest towards the bottom, and instant Seed of Corruption procs and cast speed reductions and embedding to multiple targets. So I really think that its single target profile and the way that it's laid out on the talent tree is excellent. Towards the left, it focuses on Shadow Bolt, procs, and Unstable Affliction, a little bit of execute power towards the center of the tree, and then AoE on the right. I really like the layout. Really like that it's got that kind of dynamic choice, and you can choose how much you want to specialize into single target versus AoE depending on your circumstance. So that core element of the specialization is rock solid. Now, previously in the iteration they had before this point, Malefic Grasp, which is a channeled ability, was replacing Shadow Bolt at all times. They've decided to opt out of that gameplay, and instead it will only be during Dark Glare that your Shadow Bolt is transformed into Malefic Grasp, which gives you this kind of big drain effect, which does a bunch of just single target damage to the target. And it's a cool synergy because obviously Dark Glare extends all of your dots, so you can get a lot of Unstable Affliction stacks. I'll just get this going right now. You can get a lot of Unstable Affliction stacks on the target, and then when you Dark Glare it, it will extend those, and then you can Malefic Grasp during that window, and it feels really strong. It feels really powerful, and I'm playing some talents that give me instant UA procs. So this gives you a lot of just single target juice, and obviously you'd want to haunt the target as well. I'm just trying to show you the synergy there of this new iteration for Malefic Grasp. So I think this is a much better flavor for it than the previous one, where I just replaced Shadow Bolt at all times. Also, I like Shadow Bolt, so I didn't want Shadow Bolt to go away, and I really like the Nightfall procs like this, where you get the instant Shadow Bolts and they shoot the Shadow Bolt volley, and I just like that animation. So I'm happy that they decided to rework this slightly. I think that this is a much better iteration of it, and it feels really good. This version of it feels really good in that regard. We still have our Apex talents, basically calling in Dreadlord, which does just a little bit of extra AoE damage. It's almost the same as a bunch of the other talents that they've iterated onto classes, like Boomkins can summon in Little Dryad that shoots Star Surges and Starfalls. You summon in a Dreadlord, but it is focused around Haunt, and Haunt is one of my favorite abilities. I love the synergy of getting an instant Shadow Bolt proc after you press it as well. So like right here, you can Haunt and then Shadow Bolt instantly. That combo it feels like really fun to press, so I really like that. And this is basically focusing in my favorite ability, which is Haunt. Now in AoE situations, maybe it'll still be able to carry through because the Nathraza that it summons AoEs as well, so that likely could be the case. A little bit of concern when it comes to hero talent trees as far as balancing them, because the Hellcaller tree right now is absolutely redonkulous, and the main reason for that is basically now periodic damage dealt by Wither has a chance to grant you Malevolence, and Malevolence is still the same. It's going to be giving you a lot of secondary stats. It's going to be giving you 12% haste. So being able to proc it randomly, have control of it on use, yeah, you get a remarkable amount of haste. Like you can just dot up everything, right? Get everything dotted, and then you can pop Malevolence, and you can just go to town with Unstable Afflictions. And then once you've got all those Unstable Afflictions spent onto the target, you can do like a Haunt Dark Glare combo, and it's just going to absolutely pop, basically, with the Malefic Grasp. You'll just have 5 stacks, you get these instant UA procs, you're summoning in Dreadlords, and you are just absolutely bringing the Drain Train to whatever comes in your path, basically, for it. I will say that it's still a decently advanced rotation, especially when we consider, how do I have 3 Dreadlords out right now? I've never seen 3 Dreadlords out at the same time. It is a much more complicated rotation, knowing when you need to refresh your dots, knowing when it's important to spend your soul shards, when should you be using your shadow bolts, in those types of situations, and then when you juggle in AoE as well, when do you need to use Harvest or Dark Harvest here, it gets a little bit more difficult, right? A little bit more challenging. I would say Affliction is probably, considering how much they've simplified other classes, Affliction might be the most difficult as far as complexity. And I think that's an important component to take into account for somebody who's watching this video, if you're deciding on a specialization to play, is that I don't think Affliction is easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's probably one of the more challenging specializations, but it's also more satisfying as a result of that. So I think you got to think long-term investment versus short-term, right? Do you have a lot of time to play every day and you really like advancing your skills at something, or do you just have a little bit of time and you just want to feel some quick dopamine and pound out some big numbers? That's kind of your debate with as to whether or not which specialization you should be playing. But Hellcaller right now, at least, I think is outpacing Soul Harvester very significantly, even with the stat modifications that they've tried to provide to you here. Obviously, this is something that likely will change, though, as the beta progresses, and I'm sure that they will tune things more accordingly. Now, on the left tree, they tried some experiments with Curse of Exhaustion and Curse of Tongues and trying to turn them into auras. Was not going to work. They just went back on it. So we still do have a lot of keybinds with regards to Curse of Tongues, Curse of Exhaustion, Curse of Weakness, lots of different curses. And they're bringing in Blight of Weakness as well, which is this 2-minute cooldown version of Curse of Tongues and Curse of Weakness, which reduces attack speed significantly. Really powerful effect. I think they're trying to encourage Warlock to be a bit more viable in dungeon scenarios, so they can have almost like a raid cooldown or a dungeon group cooldown. But these effects are nerfed in PvP situations, so probably not as effective. I'm also not a big fan of them being an additional keybind. I'd honestly rather they focus on synergies with Soul Burn. Like if you Soul Burn Curse of Tongues, then it becomes Blight of Tongues or something on a cooldown. So some type of deal with Soul Burn, because I feel like Soul Burn is a good tool for modifying existing abilities in a cool way without adding additional cooldown bloat to the class, as opposed to giving you another keybind. But the class tree, you're getting a huge amount of utility. Okay, so the first thing I want to note is the Demonic Gateway. So Demonic Gateway, if you don't know, which apparently we can't use here. This is new. I don't know when they've added this in here, but we're going to have to move. The Demonic Gateway now is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. One of the biggest improvements I've seen to a class in general, especially when we consider that crowd control and mobility in general is being reduced significantly. Why can't I use a gateway in the city? This is so confusing to me. Okay, we're gonna have to take a quick little detour out of the city in order to show you guys how powerful and potent this is, because I think they did that so you couldn't build an ice wall to block the training dummies, but I guess demonic gateways are also included in that. But our gateway now, through a talent in our tree, we can basically use it twice before it triggers a cooldown. So we can go through the gateway. Okay, no, we can't go through the gateway. All right, we can go through the gateway. I don't know what's going on in the beta. And then we can go immediately back also. So I'm curious well, we would normally be able to go back, but something's bugged. Basically, you're going to get 2 gateways. I don't know why that's bugged and not working, but this talent right here, you can use the demonic gateway twice. I wonder what this means for raid encounter design, because gateway has had a very integral part of design in a lot of raid encounters throughout the past. Now being able to use it twice, is it going to be like you got to use it once, then use it quickly to get back to the other side? Likely could. In PvP, this means it's going to be a lot harder for melee in order to stick on you, especially when you play talents like Demonic Mastery, which reduces its cooldown and increases the range and reach of it. So obviously in PvP situations, dealing with melee is really super annoying. This is going to be a big advantage to you, a huge tool in order to kite and survive. Another update to your crowd control is that this choice node between Howl of Terror and Shadow Fury, Howl of Terror being on a 30-second cooldown, and then you could take a talent down here which reduces it even more, and it fears even more targets. You can get Howl of Terror and Mortal Coil. So those two crowd control effects together are nice. You can lock down a single target to be able to cast, and you can lock down AoE targets. And I think the choice node with Shadow Fury is a good gamble between the two of them. Do you want just instant crowd control versus the stun DR? I think that's a fair debate between the two. Other Warlock specs, though, they can get like a 15-second cooldown Hell of Terror through the Daedalus hero talent tree. We don't have that, but even without the 15-second cooldown on Hell of Terror, it's still really good. It's still really good. I've felt the strength of Hell of Terror. And another additional utility benefit of this tree is that they're bringing in a bunch of basically drain life healing mechanics again. Now, note that I've ran into the issues with drain life where you actually run out of mana, but it does do significantly more healing than it did previously. However, drain life it's not a part of your damage rotation. Whereas in previous expansions, where the self-healing was really strong, is that it was a core part of your damage rotation. And obviously that led to you basically being 100% HP in all encounters, and the self-healing being kind of ridiculous. Now it's like a trade-off. You have to spend a lot of mana, and you've got to go out of your damage rotation in order to access the healing. But I kind of wonder if the healing will get tuned down or not, because it's just really strong with all these talents that synergize with it. It's really strong, and you still do have Demon Hellstones with 3 charges in order to pop off for some like big instant heals. So you have everything basically. You have like a lot of OP stat modifiers that are going to stack together. Really well put together talent tree. I'm liking the new flavor, liking the new rotation and combination that they've come through this. You're getting massive utility enhancements. I would say that you're eating pretty good right now, which can be dangerous because it's a beta stage. And if you're eating too good, the poppy that rises the highest is the first to get cut or something like that. Some philosophical phrase like that. You might be on that chopping block. I don't know 100% just yet, but I was very entertained by it. I think it's very fun with the core gameplay and mechanics of it and what's returning to it. I think it's really fun. And then obviously pending number tuning could dictate its viability or its not viability. But regardless, that's it for the update here for the Affliction Warlock. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. As always, if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys very much, and I will see you in the next one.